first off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of grand predecessor, transmitting masters, and everyone here to kind of learn to talk about this topic, 12 links of dependent origination. I guess in Sanskrit it's called Pratya Samutpada. Pratya Samutpada. Yeah, or the 12 Nidanas, okay. All right. So in the past we kind of talked about it, but it was within another topic. But okay, so it's this dependent origination. It's actually talked about in this Stamba Sutra. Okay, I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. It's kind of translated as the rice stalk or sapling sutra. All right, it's kind of short. It's not long, but potentially it kind of dates back to about 200 BC. So it's pretty early. And it's considered one of the first Mahayana sutras, and it's very close to kind of the original Pali, or the Theravada, but you can see some kind of elements of Mahayanism in there. And then later on the sutra, there was some commentaries by Nagarjuna, Asanga, Vasubandhu, etc. Okay, others. Okay, so the basic tenet is that it says, if this exists, then that exists, okay? If this ceases to exist, then that also ceases to exist. So there's this cause, well, it's basically, this is where, when we talk about cause and effect and karma, this is where it comes from, okay? But it's also the case that it's not like necessarily one cause to one effect or one result, okay? So it can be multiple causes, and it can be indirect, okay, causes that produces some effect or result. Now, also, the sutra states that basically all phenomena and experience are basically empty. There's by that it's really saying that there's no self, there's no essence, okay, in those things. It's due to mental conditioning and conditions that arising that cause rebirth, okay. And we'll go into explanation of, and basically what this does is explains kind of expands upon the first two of the noble truths, right? First, basically, that life or existence is suffering or dukkha, and that there's a cause, which is our desires. Okay, so that's kind of talks about that. Okay, so basically, I kind of quoted the sutra in here. It's most of it, probably like 95% of it is in here. And I may have like somewhat paraphrased it a little bit, but okay, so it starts, thus have I heard, right? The Lord was staying at Ragajra, okay, on Vulture Peak Mountain, a large company. Now it always starts, I don't know, the sutras always start off this way, and it always says that there's always 1,250 monks, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's a hint at about basically enlightenment or being aware, whatever. Okay, awakening. Okay, so anyways, basically Sariputra approached Maitreya Bodhisattva. Okay, Maitreya Bodhisattva was there. And so this is basically an exchange between Sariputra and Maitreya. As well, it's basically Maitreya talking about it. So basically Sariputra asked Maitreya, okay, so today the Lord, being, Buddha, he looked upon a stalk of grass and spoke this aphorism to the monks. Whoever sees the condition arising sees Dharma, and whoever sees Dharma sees the Buddha, right? So basically he's asking Maitreya, what does that mean? Okay. So Maitreya responds, he says, what is condition arising, right? The phrase condition means this being, that occurs. Okay, so just basically this arises and that also arises. So that is to say, so he's talking about, so here are the 12 links, right? Ignorance, conditions, the mental formations, conditions, consciousness, conditions, name and form conditions, the six sense portals condition, the contact conditions, sensation conditions, desire conditions, grasping, you can and then grasping conditions, becoming conditions, birth conditions, decay and death, okay. And then he also says that grief, lamentations, suffering, depression, and anxiety arise. Okay, so the rising of this entire great mass of suffering occurs. So basically, due to this chain of events that occurs, that it's basically ends up in suffering, okay, or it is suffering, okay. Okay, so then he's going to go into detail here. Well, okay, so then he says, okay, just as one causes the other, that if that cause is not there, then the others are not going to arise either. Okay, so I'm not going to read this, but it's basically, it's kind of unlinking that chain, okay, because if the cause doesn't exist, then you're not going to get the result. Okay, so in the end, if this chain, these links are broken, then in the end there is no suffering. Okay. Okay, so what is the Dharma? The Dharma is the Eightfold Noble Path, or the Noble Eightfold Path. Basically, the right view, right thought, right speech, right action, the right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Okay, so this path, the attainment of its fruits and nirvana rolled into one, is called the Dharma by Buddha. Okay, so but what then is the Buddha? Right, he who comprehends all dharmas is called the Buddha. Is endowed with the wisdom mind, the Dharma body. Right, he sees the Dharma as both the learned and the learner. Okay. Actually, yeah. So basically, the Noble Eightfold Path is a way to basically unlink those the 12 links of dependent origination. Okay. Okay. So how does one see this condition arising? So it's called conditioned arising. Okay, and this connection is said by the Lord. Right, whoever sees the condition arising, which is it's basically devoid of self. Okay, so he kind of describes it. It's devoid of self. It's undistorted. No, it has no soul. It's unborn, etc. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. And then whoever sees this Dharma is always, and also always and ever devoid of self, etc. Okay. So the conditioned arising, right? This process, if you will, this link of dependent origination and the Dharma itself. These have no self. All right. So that's a very important point, right? Okay. So why is it called conditioned arising? Okay, because it's causal and it's conditional. So basically, there is a cause that starts this process, okay, and then there's also, it's based on conditions. All right, so it's not the fact that, okay, you have the cause, but it may not necessarily proceed along this process if the conditions are not right. Okay. All right, so in this connection, right, the results come about by specific conditionality. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so the condition arising, it arises from two principles, right? These two principles there's the causal relation and the conditional relations, right? Okay, so causes and conditions. And then there are like two types, I guess, objective and subjective, right? So he goes in to describe the objective conditioning, objective condition arising. Okay, so this is like talking about, he uses like a seed, okay? He's talking about seed. So like the sprout comes from the seed, the sprout, the leaf comes from the sprout, et cetera, right, until you get the bud and then the flower, and then comes the fruit, okay? Okay, so when there is no seed, then of course you're not going to get the sprout, et cetera, et cetera. So it follows that logic. But when there is a seed, then naturally you'll have that it becomes a sprout when the conditions are right, right? Now here's, I guess the key point here is that it does not occur to the seed that I caused the sprout to develop, nor does it occur to the sprout that I am developed by the seed. So again, there is no idea of self or essence in these, I guess, in these processes, okay, in this process. So it's completely dependent. In other words, it's not independent, right? And it could be interdependent, right? Okay. So conditional relation in objective condition arising is coming. There's 6 factors, right? So these are conditions, right? So besides the causes, right? Those are the individual causes. Plus, there are these factors that or conditions that have to be right. Okay. So the 6 factors are the coming together of the earth, water, heat, wind, space, and season. Okay. And this, when we're talking about the seed, right? So the earth factor performs function of supporting the seed, right? So you plant the seed into the soil. The water factor, well, it waters and I guess you could say nourishes the seed. The heat factor matures the seed. The wind factor brings out the seed. I guess in the sense that, like the wind can blow the seeds around and spread them around. The space factor performs the function of not obstructing seed, so letting it space to grow. And the season performs the function of transforming the seed. So, okay, season you can you can view it as kind of time, although there's more specific to that. But without these conditions, then the development of sprout from the seed does not occur. Okay, so again, these conditions are all necessary. Taken together, so these causes and conditions taken together are sufficient and necessary. Okay, but by themselves, they're not sufficient.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all necessary.
They're all necessary. Okay.
Or you can look at another ways, the primary and secondary conditions.
Yeah, you
have
can.
to come together.
The primary is the cause, and then the secondary are these
right.
other factors.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But then so when everything is there, all the factors are there, then naturally it'll go through this process of you can say the transformation of that seed from a seed to finally the fruit. Okay. Okay, so again, it's saying that there's no, in these conditions or these factors, there's no self, right? There's no idea of, there's no kind of intention. So it's kind of like the you can say the natural laws that we see in this world, in the universe, right? It just is, right? So gravity, it just is. There's no, but it regulates the orbits of the planets around the star. But it doesn't. There's no self. There's no essence there. Okay. Okay. So that's basically what this is saying here. All right.
Wait, go back.
What?
Yet not wasn't about cause and consequence. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically, it's not self-made, right? It's not made by it's basically the sprout does not exist by itself. It is not created by itself. Okay,
It comes from
there's this process. Yeah, it's conditioned
you can say
through
its existence is conditioned.
Yeah.
So all phenomena,
Right.
if not generalized, is conditioned.
Yeah.
In other words, it just doesn't has an essence, that always
Yeah.
exists.
So the universe, same thing.
Because it's changing. It's always changing.
Right.
Right? Essence is unchanging. That's the key. That's what we have to distinguish that. Understand? Okay. The essence, you can say, is the background of all phenomena. You can say that. It's something that's it.
Yeah,
That's unchanging. That's unchanging.
Right.
And it's hard to describe that it, obviously.
Yeah.
Biology, everything, okay? But we can see its effects or its functions, i.e. phenomena. But all phenomena, even though it comes from that it, is conditioned. That means it has its causes.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's not it. Get it? It's not it,
Yeah,
the phenomena. It's
because
not
when the
it.
conditions or causes aren't there, they don't exist.
Yeah, without the conditions, there's no phenomena.
All right, so it's also, we have to view this in terms of there are 5 principles, okay? The principles are that it's not eternity or not eternal.
Right.
It doesn't become annihilated, right? It doesn't transmigrate, but it develops from a large fruit develops from a small cause, okay? And the result is similar to that of the cause. Okay, so not as eternity. So using the example of the seed, right? The sprout is one thing, the seed is another. That which is the seed is not the sprout, but still when the seed ceases to exist, then the sprout arises. Therefore, as eternity is not the case. Basically, these things don't exist. They aren't always in existence. Okay. Not annihilation, right? So, not from the previous cessation of the seed does the sprout issue forth, nor indeed without the cessation of the seed. But still the seed ceases, and at that time the sprout arises, like the beam of a scale rocking to and fro. Therefore, annihilation is not the case. So it's not the. Yeah, this is maybe a little bit harder to understand. Basically. It's not the fact that the seed stops existing and then the sprout comes about. I mean, it's kind of like there. I mean, because there's this connection, okay, between the two. Yeah, I mean this. This is actually related to this not
Right,
eternal
it's-
either. I
yeah.
mean, because
It's actually the negation. But
yeah. I mean, it's
right?
but yeah, okay. And then not transmigration, right? So the seed and sprout are dissimilar. Therefore, transmigration is not the case. Transmigration, it's actually transmigration of an essence. There's no essence, so there is no transmigration from the seed to the sprout. How is it seen as development? Okay, development of a large fruit from a small cause, right? The seed is sown, but then it causes a large fruit to develop, right? So we can see that. The result is bound to be similar to that of the cause, because basically what this is saying is that if you plant, the seed has a certain nature or type, if you will. So the seed, let's say it's an apple seed. If you plant the apple seed, and the result is going to be an apple tree, or you get an apple out of that. So you're not going to get something else. So that's what that's saying. Okay. All right. So that was the objective condition arising. Okay. So that's one type, which is basically talking about phenomena.
Yeah.
Okay, phenomena. Now we're talking about the subjective, which is dealing with basically sentient beings. Okay. So it also has two principles: causal and conditional relations. Okay, but it's basically the same. So, but this is where we have the 12 links that we're talking about: the ignorance, mental formations, etc., all the way there. Okay, so if there were no ignorance, then mental formations would not be known, and so on until there is no birth, decay, and death. Okay, so again, these are all conditioned. Our existence is conditioned on these factors. Okay, so once we know that, then it gives us an idea of how we need to break that chain. Okay. Okay, so when there is ignorance, the development, okay, mental formations, etc. Okay, let's see. Okay, again, it's saying that these are without self. There's no essence in these things. So that's why ultimately it's all empty. Okay. All right, I'm not gonna read the whole thing here. Okay, so conditional relations. Let's see. Is also due to the coming together of 6 factors. All right. So the 6 factors again are earth, water, heat, wind, space, and the last one, instead of seasons, is consciousness factors. Okay. Okay. So basically, the earth factor is the conglomeration, the matter, if you will, the solid matter that comes together. And the cohesion factor is the water, okay? And then when we consume, right, as biological beings, we consume things, food, then that is the processing of that. Digesting is the heat factor, okay? The breathing is called the wind factor, okay? And then the hollowness, well, basically the space that we occupy. It's called the space factor, and then okay. So those. Oh, okay. And then so name and form. Remember that's the. Let's see, it's the fourth link. Basically, that's developed by the consciousness factor. Okay, the consciousness is associated with 5 consciousness bodies, right? The 5 senses, right? The consciousness associated with the 5 senses plus the main consciousness, our mind consciousness. Okay, so without these conditions, the rising of the body does not occur. Which is interesting. So we think, well, birth, very natural, that is biological, but actually everything is due to that. You can say, well, consciousness is one of the links before birth. So, all right, so we have to. So it's all in the mind, really. Okay, so if the subjective earth factor is not deficient, okay, so again, these factors all have to be present, of course. Most of them, except for that consciousness one, deals with the kind of, you can say, the physical aspect, right? And then there's the mind aspect. Okay. Okay, so again, it says that all these things are not real. they're all empty. Okay. Okay, so Yeah, so none of these factors are, have a self or being or soul, etc. Right? Okay.
Well, another way of saying this, it's kind of abstract. Okay. Another simple way of saying that all these variables
Yeah.
or factors are not independently existing.
Right.
That's another way of saying bubble. Okay. They all are dependent on something. They have their own causes.
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, that's why it's not. You can say it's empty. It's not real because without those factors or cause some
Yeah.
conditions,
Yeah.
then these
They won't
factors
exist, yeah.
would not exist.
Yeah.
Precisely. Or you can say break the chain
Yeah.
or whatever. Okay. Or delink. That's another way of saying
Yeah.
it. Okay.
I mean, the only thing that independently exists is the essence. Is that
Correct.
the.
So that's why we have to know the difference between the two. It's very important.
Right.
Okay. So,
So everything, you can say all of these things arise from the essence, all right?
correct.
So, all right. So what is ignorance, right? So that which perceives these same 6 factors, which we were just talking about, the phenomena, as a unit, as a lump, as permanent, as constant, as eternal, as pleasant itself, as being, right, as making I or making mind, and so on. So it's essentially basically talking about the skandhas, basically. These are all skandhas, and that, the 5 skandhas we view as real, and that's why we view our life and everything as real.
And we cling to that.
We cling it. Yeah, we cling to it. And that's
Crave
what
it.
causes this link.
whole- yeah.
We're still
Yeah.
in that link. That's
It
why we're still in that
perpetuates the
perpetuates the
cycle.
link. Yeah. Okay. So when there's ignorance, greed. Okay. So, right. So when there is this ignorance, right, greed, hatred, and delusion develop. Okay. So the 3
And
poisons.
then the 3 points.
Yeah, in relation to our senses. Okay, so greed, hatred, and delusion are called the mental formations, right? So that's the next step, the next link. The discrete appearance of objects is consciousness. So then the link after that is our ability to distinguish things. When we see things, we can identify what they are. 4 non-material grasping aggregates, which talking about above there, which arise together with consciousness are the name. And the name together with the 4 great elements, which is the external. So in the mind and the body, right, that's the name and form. Basically not the formless and the form, or, basically, yeah, it's the mind and body, which is, that's what's called name and form.
In this stage, it's described by Lectuel, it's already the
This is birth.
embryo.
This is
Yeah.
birth.
It's
Not
the
birth,
fourth.
but it's
the fourth,
conception.
right?
What? Yeah, it's the 4th one.
Means
Yes,
so,
the
right?
fi-
This is means so you're talking about?
Yeah, means so. Yeah.
Right, so that's already formed as a baby.
Yeah. It's already a birth. Starting.
And not born.
Not
It's a
born,
form.
but
It's
it's
a
the
form.
conception
Yeah.
of the physical
Yeah,
being.
You're talking in relation to the 5 skandhas, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is also part of the 5 skandhas, but okay. So the sense faculties connected with that name and form are the 6 sense portals, right? Our organs, and then the conjunction of all these 3 things is the contact. So we make contact. So through the object, right? External objects, or it could be internal objects too. Our sense consciousness organs and the consciousness. Okay. The experience of contact is sensation. Okay. So, yeah, we feel, right, whether it's hot, cold, whatever sense or other kinds of emotions, right? Clinging to sensation is desire, right? So this is where we develop the like and dislike. Okay, so now we sense, we distinguish hot, cold, whatever, and then we say, oh, I like hot, or I don't like cold, etc. Okay. Expansion of desire is grasping. So this is where we have more of an attachment, where we might want to pursue what I like and avoid what I don't like. Okay. Action is born out of grasping. Okay. So then, that basically leads further to which is becoming. Okay. So that's where I'm basically, again, this is similar to the, let's see, becoming basically the mental formations where it's planting the seeds of karma. Okay. And then manifestation of the aggregates caused by becoming is form. So once these all things come together, then that you have birth. Okay. So maturing of the born aggregates is decay, right? So once we're born, then we all get older. And then perishing of the worn out aggregates is death. So eventually we die. Okay. And then it says, the internal burning of the deluded, attached, dying person is grief, right? Giving vent to grief is lamentation. The experience of unpleasantness associated with the 5 consciousness bodies is suffering. Mental suffering associated with the mind is depression. And whatever other subtle definements there are of this sort are anxiety. So, yeah, so associated with this whole process is, you can say, suffering, all right? Okay, let me see here. This doesn't really say too much here. I'm going to skip that. Okay, so basically not arriving at reality, arriving at falsehood, misapprehension is ignorance, right? So just like Liu Jian says, qi xing dong nian. I mean, basically, when we're not aware, that's ignorance. And when we have given rise to a thought, then that is also being ignorant, okay? Okay, so thus when there is ignorance, threefold mental formations develop, right, leading to advantage, which leading to disadvantage, and leading to stability, okay? So as a result, the mental formations leading to advantage, advantageous consciousness appears. Basically, we see, there's something that I can get that's beneficial to me. The disadvantage one is the one that, something that I don't want, okay? And then the third one, I've read that basically it's talking about like when people like meditate, they get into the state of, I won't say euphoria, but they feel, it's a very peaceful that state, and they want to stay in that state. So that's that stable state. But that's also empty. Okay, so that's not the true. So people who they like to be in that state, but that's that's why we say we don't do meditation, right? Because we get into that state and then we want to stay in that state, but that's a state of emptiness. It's not the true state. Okay. As a result, okay, the mental formations lead. Okay, so this is called consciousness conditioned by the mental formations. As for consciousness conditioned, name and form, right? The form, non-material aggregates, sensations, etc., cause bending into existence here and there, and are called name, right? This name, which accompanies the form, then becomes name and form, right? So name and form, through the 6 senses, activities develop, right? And then so these 6 senses conditioned by name and form. Okay, so because the 6 senses, we have contact with external stuff, and then okay, so let's see here. Okay, the sensations conditioned by contact. Okay, that which by discriminating those sensations causes one to relish that which delights and cleans and clinging remains. That is called desire conditioned by sensations. Okay, so again, sometimes we feel, or let's say we taste something, we see something, we hear something that we enjoy, that's maybe pleasant, and we want more of it. Okay, that becomes that desire, and then the clinging, which is a stronger sense of that. Of course, there's also the opposite of things that we don't like. Okay, so we want to keep those away from us. Yeah, so it says, so we have that wish to, want those things that are delightful to us. We always want to have those. Okay, all right. So that's the grasping. Okay, so wishing. But this wishing causes rebirth, producing karma to arise by means of body, speech, and mind. All right. So again, these things, those mental formations, are actually what we call karmic imprints, or you can say karmic seeds. Basically, they can come about obviously by action. Okay, so but usually these are stronger actions. So normal small little actions, maybe they won't create such a strong imprint. But like if I kill someone, okay, of course there's a lot of emotional energy involved there too, and that will leave a strong imprint. Words, what we say, can also leave karmic imprints, and also even our thoughts. If we have very continuously thinking about something and a strong intention, that will leave a karmic imprint. So that's why the Buddhists say we have to be careful of our thoughts, because that can create reincarnation. Okay. All right. So this 12-fold condition arising, okay, with interdependence of causes and interdependence of conditions, right? It's not impermanent, not permanent, not compounded, not et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so all these things, it's not, right? It's just like a flowing of a stream, so it just kind of flows along naturally, all right? Okay, so let's see, what for? Oh, okay, so here it says the four limbs of the 12 fold condition arising developed through the process of causality for performing the action of assembly. Okay, so what for? Those ignorance, desire, karma, and consciousness. Okay, so these are the things that basically make this happen, all right? Okay, so consciousness is caused by, is the nature of the seed. Okay, so it's using kind of like the metaphor of like the seed to apply to this. Basically our consciousness, so that's like planting the seed. Karma is the field that is planted in, okay? Ignorance and desire are caused by being of the nature of defilement, right? And karma defilements cause the consciousness seed to be born. Therein karma performs the function of being the field of the consciousness seed. Desire waters the consciousness, so basically, once we have that initial karmic imprint or thoughts or whatever, when we have desires, that kind of strengthens it and enhances it, okay, or intensifies it, right? So that then it kind of like watering the seed. Then ignorance scatters the seed. So because we're ignorant, we end up committing more of these karma or creating more karmic imprints, whenever and wherever. Okay. All right, so without these conditions, then actually there would not be that consciousness seed. All right. Okay, so so the consciousness seed, as it grows, standing in the karma field, watered by the moisture of desire, scattered by ignorance. Okay. Okay, so here and there in the entrances of rising, it causes the sprout of name and form to develop through rebirth in a mother's womb. Okay, so that's right. So the name and form is already referring to the rebirth already. Okay, later on I'll show it's kind of a chart of how to view these 12 links in terms of the life cycle. Okay, so and the sprout is okay. So all right, this is pretty much the same. Okay. Okay, so you talk about the I consciousness arises by way of 5 principles, right? Principle that conditioned by the I, which is the organ of the I, the forms, the objects basically, the objects, yeah, and then the light, space, and appropriate and attention. Okay, so basically, so all our senses, basically this applies to all our senses, right? In terms of like the ear, it would be the form, would be the sounds, etc. Okay. Okay, so without these conditions, then that I consciousness does not arise, actually. Okay, so, okay. There's nothing, okay, there's nothing that transmigrates from this world into another world, okay? There is only the appearance of the fruit of karma because of the non-deficiency of causes and conditions, right? It is like the reflection of a face seen in a well-polished mirror. No face transmigrates into the mirror, but there is the appearance of a face because of the non-deficiency of causes and conditions, right? So thus, there is nothing departed from this world, nothing arising elsewhere. There is only the appearance of the fruit of karma because of non-deficiency of causes and conditions. So it's just like, basically, the Buddha. we talk about the Buddha. The Buddha is has neither come nor gone. The Buddha is you can say it's everywhere. I mean, the essence is everywhere, right? So like the Buddha is everywhere. Is nowhere to go. Okay, it doesn't go anywhere, right? Okay. Okay. Again, the subjective conditioned arising is seen according to 5 principles. Again, the same principles that apply to the objective conditioned arising, right? Not as eternity, not as annihilation, not as transmigration, but it is the development of a large fruit from a small cause. and the result is similar to the cause. Okay, so not eternity, because the aggregates that make up the body are not the same. Okay, between each life. Not annihilation, because basically the aggregates sharing arising do not become manifest from the previous cessation of the aggregates on the edge of death, nor without the cessation. Okay, not transmigration, because dissimilar species cause birth to develop in a common category of birth. Therefore, transmigration is not the case. Basically, we're always. It goes through that same. I guess I don't know. This one. Well, this is referring to the process.
Yeah,
Okay.
When we say not eternity, not annihilation type, it's not. He's basically proposing the principle of that we don't have these two extreme views, right?
Yeah,
eternity or annihilation.
Right.
Eternity means something's
always
always there,
yeah.
or unchanging.
Right.
That's the better way to look at it. So we know the seed and all those. It's not unchanging. It's always constant.
Right.
So therefore, it's not eternity. Now, what does it mean by not annihilation? It means that there's no nothing,
Right.
pure emptiness,
Right.
no nothing. No, there always will be some kind of phenomena because the conditions are
Right.
always changing,
Right.
and therefore those conditions will either create it or not create it. Get it? So it's not annihilation either. See, this annihilation is extreme. These
Yeah,
are two extreme
yeah, too
views.
extreme, right.
So what this sutra is talking about is, well, one of the key teaching points is that, the two extreme views,
Yeah.
or the two views,
Right.
or whatever. It's in the Buddha nature thing. It's called the 二见, two wrong views: view of total annihilation or view of eternity.
Right. Yeah, so it's not those. I mean, it's
It's not
basically the
those
middle
two.
path.
Correct.
Basically, what he's talking about.
Because what he's trying to say is that in this causality or whatever it's causal, okay, everything is conditioned, but it's not permanent, nor is it pure nothingness.
Right, right.
Get it? Okay, so we should not get caught up in
Right.
those two extreme viewpoints. Get it? That's what basically means, okay?
Yeah, I mean, if it was either of those extremes, there would not be causes and conditions. Okay, so those wouldn't exist. All right. And of course, we do see as a development of large fruit from a small cause, right? So a little action, we plant the seed of karma, and it can result in a future lifetime, a whole life. Okay, so that's big, right? And again, the same idea of it's going to be similar. So what we plant, the seed of karma, the type of seed that we plant, good seed, it's going to end up in a good result. Bad seed end up in a bad result. Okay, so these principles apply. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'll skip this here. Oh yeah. So here, it says basically. So we see this whole process, or this 12 links, as basically there's no self to it. Okay, so again, it has no essence, and basically, so because of that, we do not, or should not. There's no need to ask about, who was I in the past? What was I in the past? What was I not? Right? Or even talking about, the future. What am I going to be in the future? Right? Again, these are.
So those are the three minds.
Yeah. Yeah. You can say past, present, future. What will I become, and where will I go? Again, because if we break the link, then there is none of that. Okay. So then it all becomes irrelevant.
Where do you break the link?
Okay. Yeah. So we'll get to that. Whatever dogmas, okay, the world's such, okay, let's see. All right. So whoever understands this, okay. So basically, if we can truly understand this whole conditioned arising we can break out of break that process, break the link, and become enlightened, become Buddha, really. Okay. So here, basically, kind of summarize the objective conditioned arising. There are two types, and subjective. So objective, you can say, applies to phenomena, physical phenomena, and that's kind of like the scientific view of the world. See how the processes work. The subjective one applies, you can say, to sentient beings. It's kind of more of a metaphysical view, because and the links are independent or square. Okay, so and with these two, you've got causal relations. So there is cause, but of course these things are all without self, all without essence. There is a condition, the condition factors, right? The 6 factors: earth, water, heat, wind, space, season applying to the objective, and then consciousness applying to the subjective. Okay, and also those are also without the essence. They're also subject to 5 principles, right? They're neither eternal, neither empty, or annihilation. They're not transmigration, but they do develop from a seed to a fruit, and the results basically is similar to the cause, okay, or related to that cause. Okay, so this here are the 12, and this is one view of, and this is the typical view, and it's kind of how it described it. So the first two, ignorance and mental formations, are past causes, right? Because when it talked about consciousness could be either in the past or the present as well. It's kind of a link between two, but name and form, as I said earlier, is that's like a birth, conception.
Body,
okay, when you have physical body, so that becomes the present life here, and all the way. So then, of course, in this physical body, we have our sense organs. We make contact to the world. We have feelings, sensations. We have desire, craving, grasping, and then becoming, which is planting the seeds again of karma for the next life. Okay, so that's then back over here. So, but then this is kind of broken down into like the causes, the past causes, these two, ignorance, mental formations, which because of our ignorance, because of those 3 poisons, right, we create this life, okay, that we are here today, right? So, and then, but in this life, we see that as, we have this consciousness, we have this body, etc. Okay, and then the causes in this life for the next life are these desires, grasping, the becoming, the planting the seeds of karma for the future birth and aging and death. Okay, so that's one way to look at this. And so ignorance is the unaware or misapprehension of the truth, right? So basically, it's not understanding what the truth is about the world or the reality, right? So basically, like the 4 noble truths, not in the Theravada view that it's
wrong
specifically
views or wrong views.
Yeah.
Say wrong views.
Yeah.
Lack of proper understanding, right? According
Yeah.
to the Eightfold Path.
Right.
If you want to look at that one too, we can look at that.
And Lecture Liu says, it's also when we give rise to thoughts and actions, 起心动念, that's ignorance as well. So that's why when we do the practice of letting go of karmic affinities and not giving rise to a single thought. Okay, so that's one way to address the ignorance. Mental formations, right? These are actions, words, thoughts misguided by ignorance that leave a strong karmic imprint, eventually leading to rebirth. Okay, this includes, now these, of course, it's not just this life. Each life, each life we have these imprints, and these imprints are always there. I mean, they accumulate. They're accumulating. They accumulate over the lifetimes. All right. So yeah, they're in our 8th consciousness. And so anytime these imprints from the past can also pop up.
Correct.
Right?
They link to our 7th.
Yeah, they can pop up in our mind, in our in present consciousness. Okay, so that's why, so that's why, again, not giving rise to a single thought. So again, if these thoughts pop up, these things pop up, then we have to kind of let them go. Okay. All right.
Not to link up.
Yeah, not to link. So sometimes, basically, over time, these can become like a habit.
Correct.
Right. So these things
Propensity.
if these imprints keep, we keep planting these imprints in all our lifetimes, then it builds up and it becomes more intense and it becomes like a habit and it becomes habitual. We don't necessarily think about it and we just have a inclination, a propensity to do something or say something. Yeah.
Right. Then from our perspective or a human perspective, we think that's our natural tendency.
Yeah.
We have what we call idiosyncrasies
Right.
or stuff like that. It becomes like, it's, we say it's habitual nature.
Right.
But actually it comes from, not all of it, but a lot of it comes from that previous
Right.
imprints.
Yeah.
Because it's so strong.
Yeah, right.
Because
Each time it kind of
each
reinforced,
lifetime, we keep reinforcing,
reinforcing.
right, or accumulating.
Yeah,
We
so it's like
accumulate.
likes and dislikes.
Right.
In this lifetime, we have certain likes and dislikes, but those are probably reinforced from previous lifetimes. Okay,
correct.
so we
It's not
have.
necessarily in this
Yeah,
lifetime.
it's not that we
Right,
developed
right.
those in this lifetime. They were already imprints
So we
in
have
previous
like a
lifetimes.
strong inclination
Right,
or
towards something.
pre-bias
Right.
or whatever you want
Yeah,
to call
you
that.
can say there
Or
was a pre-biases,
preconceptions
right.
or stuff like that.
So that's why that's part of the thing is that we don't want to have like and dislike, not that duality, right? Okay.
So this relates to the wandering thoughts and the
Yeah, those are all
You mean
previous.
杂念?
yeah 妄念跟杂念。
Yeah,
Well, 杂念 definitely.
those are definitely some previous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, 妄念 it's also related to.
Yeah.
It's also related. If you have a predisposition,
Right.
I mean, it could be present.
It could be.
But present should not be that. How can I say?
Maybe
That
not-
strong.
yeah,
I mean,
probably not that strong.
that forceful. It's really the accumulation of. God knows how many previous
Right.
lives we have.
Right.
That accumulated. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of like it's like a magnet. So that's why it's very difficult to break. That's why it's not easy. What can I say?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Especially the ones that just pops out.
Yeah,
Know where it came from.
yeah, and so
Well, that's 杂念.
这是杂念。
The 妄念 is more intense.
Yeah.
Like,
Right, you
well,
start
I'll say-
imagining things.
Yeah. Okay, there's two separate. That's how lecture is like. 妄念 is actually. I don't want to say intentional, but it has a conscious effort or
Right.
conscious cause or
yeah. Well,
or
again,
origin,
the
conscious
causes
origin.
could be
Right.
from desires, all these things
Correct.
that cause that to come up. Yeah,
Cravings, attachments. That's 妄念.
Right.
Now you can say, well, why do I have those cravings or desires? Because
Again,
a
there
lot
could
of
be
it's
these
accumulated from
previous imprints,
right?
yeah.
Not just necessarily in just one lifetime.
Right.
Now, then the 杂念 is things that you don't have a conscious effort. You're not a conscious intent, but it just pops up.
Right.
Right. Distractions.
Sometimes from habits.
Yeah. Distractions.
Yeah.
Like distractions.
Yeah, those are
I
also
find it hard to
previous-
focus.
previous
Let's
lives.
say I
Yeah.
find it hard to focus things. Like, hey, I'm interested in reading the sutra, but yet somehow my mind wanders, right? You obviously don't have a conscious effort to say, I want to wander, right? Make sense? But it just comes. And once again, a lot of it's accumulated from previous lives. It becomes a habit, like you say, a predisposition.
Yeah.
Or we have a tendency, propensity to just wander, not be able to focus, or stuff like that.
Right.
Okay? Like that.
Right.
But I thought Lecture Liu said 杂念 is also could be caused by our collectors.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's
That-
but then
that-
that's due to karma. That's
Right,
karma.
yeah.
So that's karma. That's still karma.
still-
That's still basically anything that we did. That's one way, but to talk about it. But it's due to our past karma. That's past karma. So past karma is all recorded. It's all in that alaya consciousness.
Right.
So it's that seed. The
And
seeds
as long
are
as you have
there.
a body, it's
Yeah.
going to link.
There's a
us.
link to that.
Right.
And
to
so
our seven consciousness. Get it? It's going to link, and therefore, that's where we have problems. We didn't have issues. But the key is, if your eighth is gone, it's clear, then there's nothing to affect you
Yeah.
except for the present.
Yeah.
Your present thoughts.
Right.
Right? So the key is to either isolate or block that eighth, from linking up to your seventh or whatever are now. And that depends on how well we cultivate, on how well our 路径 is. Okay, or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So it depends on that. Even Bodhisattva, just as a warning, just as FYI, according to Ma Ying, right? Ma Ying, he's the 12th patriarch of Buddha. Okay, Asoba Gaba, or whatever, Asoba whatever his name is, Ma Ying. He talks about the three subtle mindset and the time. He said, even the Bodhisattva type at the 10th level, 10th ground, that means 50th level, out of the 52 levels of Bodhisattva, even at the 50th, that's pretty hard, that's pretty high level, they still retain partially that first condition of the 3 subtle concepts. Ooh, that's scary. Bodhisattva, Bodhisattva, that's Maitreya. Maitreya is at that level. Well, he's a Buddha now, but when he was a Bodhisattva, that's at that level. 50th, there's 52 levels, right? He's at the 50th, well, he's 47 and above, but if you're 47 and above, you still retain the 3 subtle conceptions. That means there's still a link to your alaya consciousness. That's important. So if you go to the 51st, 52nd, you break. So therefore, Buddhas, when they come down, because they already broke that, they have they do have alaya, but it's like there's almost no link. So that's why they're able to, you say, 漏尽神通, that means they won't regress, because those 3 subtle conceptions will not influence them. Get it?
What was the 3 subtle? What?
It's in the Buddha nature. I don't want to read. It's 无明业相, it's 能界相 or 转相 and 现象 or 境界相. Those are the 3. So even if you're Bodhisattva at the 50th level, that's pretty darn high. That's pretty darn high. 50th level, you still have the first one, first subtle. That's scary. That means you still have a link. Get it?
Yeah.
So that means you could regress, or you could have ignorant thoughts. That's what I'm trying to say. And therefore
You plant
the
karma, you plant karmic
the
seeds.
the whole 12 links will come into formation.
Okay.
Scary.
Okay, so consciousness is basically the karmic imprints from previous lives coming to our present consciousness, right? So name and form, right? The merging of the mind and body, that's birth. 6 sense portals develop. Okay, so as we develop contact, okay, sensation again, our experience giving rise to feelings, emotions, desires. We tend to desire good experiences and wish to avoid bad ones, right? Grasping or clinging, the intensification of those desires, strengthening the force of karmic imprints, and then becoming again. So that's again because of those strong desires, this grasping, that we either create karma that then plants those karmic seeds, imprints for the next life, right? And then that leads to the future life. All right. Okay. Well, this is or you can kind of organize it just that all the causes here, and then the followed by the results. Okay. So if you organize it this way, then it's this is the truth, the first in the first noble truth, right? Truth. There's why is there suffering, and then that there is suffering, and that why is there suffering, and then the suffering itself. Okay, so again, it's just the impelling causes, right? Impelling causes, again, those imprints that we create, either mind, action, or body, or words that leave a karmic imprint. Okay, so let me see. Each stage, right? So this is one view, is that each stage of this 12 links is an instance of samsara. So we tend to view samsara as we're going through some cycle, whatever, but every stage is samsara. And samsara is also the cycle, of course, moving through all those 12 links. Okay, so in this case, the impelling causes, right? Ignorance, having the wrong apprehension or view or understanding, or the lack of proper, the right, or not knowing, misrepresentation of reality. In the Theravada view, it's specifically the Four Noble Truths, not understanding Four Noble Truths. Okay. So ignorance is the root of cyclic existence. Okay, so if we can address the ignorance, then we can break out of that cycle. Right, mental formations, again, there's actions, words, thoughts misguided by ignorance can leave a strong karmic imprint that leads to rebirth. It can be both negative and positive. Asanga says, the karma is like shooting arrows into the sky above us, and then one day they're going to fall down and they might hit us, right? So the karma, so it's like the karmic seeds, and one day when the conditions are right, they hit us, and that's when the karmic effect appears. All right, the consciousness, continuation of the consciousness that created the karmic imprint. After leaving our consciousness, it remains in a dormant state, like an attachment. So even though we don't think about it, right? So it's basically they're all stored in that alaya consciousness. All right, so even though we don't realize that they're there, they are there. Actions performed with strong emotion and our habituation leave strong imprints. Okay, so those are, yeah, so definitely, so that's why anger, passions, right? We want to try to reduce those because otherwise the actions that result from them will leave a very strong karmic imprint, and that will definitely result in some future karmic result. Okay, craving or desires, craving for pleasure, wishing to repeat pleasurable experience, craving for annihilation, which is the opposite. We want to avoid or eliminate bad experiences. Craving for existence, this is where he talks about basically that stable state of this, I always want to be in that peaceful state, a sensation in deep meditation, right? So like scratching an itch, right? These responses only strengthen the force of past imprints, right? So then when that happens, it becomes like a habit, okay? So habits are not just developed in this lifetime, right? So it's over many lifetimes as well. And so this is the craving or desires is a strong and direct cause of this cyclic existence. The grasping or clinging is the intensification of craving, especially at death. Right, a lot of times that people, when they're about to die, maybe they remember something and they say, oh, I wish I want that, or I don't want to leave, my family or whatever, and so they can have a strong emotional attachment there, but then that will trigger these dormant experiences that we've had before. And then that leads to the future life, right? So the last moment of consciousness in this life, which is the cause for the first moment of consciousness in the next life, that's the becoming. Okay, so it's like this continued existence from life to life. And then the result is this name and form again, which is equivalent to birth, right? The merging of mind and body. The mind carried into this birth is a continuation of the dormant mind of link 3, the consciousness from previously, and manifested as becoming. Okay, aging and death, continued changes from. Okay, so that's the natural process after we're born. Organs. Okay, feeling again, experiencing pleasure and pain, habituated by karmic imprints. Okay, so basically, just like in basically all the sutras that talk about, we have to view these things as empty, or that these things are not the true reality, if you will. And so just like in Heart Truths it says, there's 5 skandhas, which is kind of embedded within these 12 links. Basically, we have to view them, they're not real. They're empty. They're not real in the sense that they don't exist by themselves. And so
they're not independent.
So yeah, if we don't create the causes for these things, then they won't exist. Okay, so again, okay, so I won't go into this, the Heart Sutra, right, more of this stuff, okay. Emptiness, basically, contrary and delusional thoughts, right, okay, so basically, how we address this, basically the Noble Eightfold Path addresses this, and it breaks the links here. You have proper view, right, proper thought, action, speech, livelihood, right, proper mindfulness, and also if we practice that do not give rise to a single thought, right? So we can address these in terms of okay, so in terms of like contact, right, you can say, well, of course we're dealing with the world around us, right? 4 proper conducts, precepts, that's why there are these things that help us to kind of avoid certain things, right? 4 proper conducts, right? Basically, see no evil, do or not see things that are improper, etc. So, because although we say, I saw something, but it's like, it's no big deal. But it leaves an imprint. It can leave an imprint in our in our mind, right? That can later, it becomes a karmic imprint that later pops up again. And so we have to be very careful. and you say, oh, this won't bother me, but eventually it could, right? So that's why it's best to avoid that contact altogether. Sensation, feeling, right? You let go of all karmic affinities. So basically be like a mirror, right? So we have to transform our consciousness into wisdoms, right? So it's like the great mirror wisdom. So we deal with things as they are, and then there's no attachment. And when the conditions are not there anymore, it's just they're gone. Okay, so that's how we basically, like our lecture Liu would say, at the feeling, that's where you can deal with it. Okay, so how we feel, how we sense and perceive things, right? Basically, at maybe at a lower level, we can say, why does this bother me? Why does this whatever? Why do I like this? Why don't like this? We can ask ourselves that. But then there's still the I there. But at the higher level, so all the Buddha's teachings are about avoiding also the like and dislike, right? Avoiding that duality, so that we don't fall into that trap. Because once we go into that duality, like and dislike, we tend to build on those or reinforce those, and then, right. So then that leads us into continuing this cycle. Okay, so the 12 links depend on origination, which includes the 5 skandhas, are inherently empty, right? So we have to view it as such. Break the chain by not letting the conditions dictate how we feel, right? Don't let sensations, feelings turn into desires, cravings. End ignorance with proper views and understanding, right? Follow the Noble Eightfold Path. Let go of all karmic affinities and not give rise to a single thought. So basically, that's the recipe for breaking this link of this chain, which causes us to constantly be in samsara, right? So I think I don't know. I think it's pretty clear. Maybe the question is it's how we implement it, how we do it. It might be a little bit difficult, but again, because of our previous. Again, sometimes it's hard to, we enjoy or we like certain things and don't like certain things, and it's very strong, but that's also from past lives. So again, it's very difficult to kind of break that, but again, maybe if we use precepts or, try practicing that, let it go of all karmic affinities, not give rise to single thought, any way that can help us to kind of break that. All right. Okay. So if I had said anything wrong or not well, I asked the Buddhists for forgiveness and also the transmitter and lectures for corrections. And thank you.